All right, welcome back to the homestead. I got to move these sheep real fast, and we're going to talk about the current banking situation in America, because they got you on a fast track to somewhere, and I don't know if you want to go to that destination. Let's move the sheep real quick. Come on, girls. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, girls. Come on, girls. That's my girls. And guys. We got a couple rams snuck in there. Come on. And they will know my voice. Come on. Come on. Come on. Hip. Hip. Go on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on, Abby. We'll feed you in a minute. Got to tell the people about the banking situation. All right, I had to duck inside the greenhouse. That's our seeds that we saved from last year. You know, if you want a really easy way of saving seeds so you can grow your own food, is you just kind of pull the whole plant out of the ground and just hang it upside down somewhere, you know, where it won't get wet or anything, in a cool, you know, just a dry spot. It doesn't have to be cool. And it'll actually just go through the winter process itself naturally, like God made it, and then it'll be ready to have seeds for you come springtime instead of buying seeds. So that's just a real easy hack for growing food and saving seeds. But what we're going to talk about today is this financial crisis that we found ourselves in. I'm not in one, but apparently, you know, they're trying to gin it up like we're in one. Oh my goodness, man. How much of this stuff are we going to fall for as Americans, really? I mean, we did the whole COVID lie. The 1920 stock market crash was a lie. Here, I'm going to show you guys a graph right now of the different crashes that we've had in America. And then I'm going to talk briefly about the 1920s stock market crash.
Many of new technologies like telegraph messaging to confirm transactions collapsed after they failed to sell enough railroad bonds quickly enough to cover withdrawals. The bank failure triggered other bank runs and kicked off the Panic of 1873, which was called the Great Depression until 5 decades later. 1893, new investments into novel assets like farmland in Argentina and properties in Australia fell dramatically in price, leaving the banks facilitating and encouraging these purchases exposed to bank runs and a deep depression that impacted every sector of the economy. The fallout was so severe in the USA that it led to widespread cultural changes across the country, now referred to as the political realignment. 1907, a loss of confidence amongst depositors during a difficult period of economic uncertainty exacerbated by new and unregulated investments caused numerous bank runs and a deep drop in financial markets. 1929, the Great Depression, the real one this time. The most intense economic downturn in the 20th century was caused by an economic contagion that started with a sharp drop in the stock market, leading to bank runs that rippled through the economy, forcing industry to grind to a halt.
My investigations, because I'm trying to look into this stuff, I'm not a banker, they never taught us about money in school, and now you know why. So I'm trying to get this going on my own and trying to do as much research as I can. But what I did find out was the 1920s stock market crash and recession, depression, was caused again by the big bankers. The bankers were lending out money to the average Joe. The average Joe was then taking that money straight to the stock market and buying stocks, right? And then because hey, Sue, if you go buy these stocks, you know, you can make some money. So she goes and gets a loan, buys the same stocks. And if you get a bunch of people buying the same stocks, well, that makes it look like the stocks are really good and more people buy them, right? But they don't know that people are just borrowing money from the banks to buy the stocks, okay? So then as soon as the stocks have a problem, the people can't pay their note because they're not working. They're just living off this fantasy money, which is a lot of that's going on today, right? And that's what caused the stock market crash of the 20s. I could not believe it when I was digging in and found this stuff out. Please do your own homework. All the narratives that we've been, you know, shoveled via television. I'm all 56 years old. All the stuff that we've been shoveled has all been a lie, right? And we're going to start unraveling it all right here on YouTube so you can see for yourself, and maybe it'll spark you enough interest to do your own homework. Because if we can red pill America real quick, like, man, maybe we can turn this thing around, because the central banks, like I reported 6 months ago, are going for the central bank digital currency, okay, CBDC. It's coming, right? The COMEX, I don't know if you guys know about the COMEX. I didn't know nothing about the COMEX. I just learned about this stuff. I'm telling you guys, I am all in learning financial stuff right now. The COMEX is where they keep all the precious metals, the silver, the gold, the platinum, uranium, all this stuff. All the central banks in the world are draining the COMEX right now. They're buying gold, they're buying silver, and they're buying it at rates, unprecedented rates, right? Unprecedented rates. So that tells you something. That's a tell. Okay? That's a tell. Real quick, I'm going to let you guys listen to a guy who worked with BlackRock. If you don't know about BlackRock, they're the largest hedge fund manager. They own more assets on planet Earth than anybody on planet Earth, okay? And this guy managed some of their funds, right? And I want you to kind of listen to what he's telling you, and then we'll talk on the back end of this.
The banking authorities and the government decided to throw out their existing laws in their books and rewrite the rules. You only do that if what you're seeing is so terrifying, you decide to, discard the rule of law and make up new rules, because that is a tell. So I'm an analyst. When the authorities violate their own laws, that tells me something, that what they're seeing is a big problem. So what I suspect, and I hope this unfolds, I hope they try to plug the dam and it's a slow, controlled implosion, because speed kills. Speed will get everything out of control and has unintended consequences. So I think they're going to continue to play what I call whack-a-mole. They plug their finger in the dike. Everybody, breathes a sigh of relief for a couple of weeks or months, and then there's another problem, and then they whack, and then all the way down. I'm hoping that's the case, because, to be honest, I don't want to see a fast panic. That's not good for any of us.
And is this a similar scenario then that you're forecasting for the U.S. as another bank potentially is on the brink of collapse, and then, as you say, regulators manage to sort of plug that hole while another one sprouts on the other side? So elaborate, paint that picture for us.
Yeah,
what do you see happening in the U.S.?
The U.S. is going to be similar to what is going on in Europe. So the European Central Bank has problems. The banks in Europe have problems. So we're going to see the exact same thing we saw with Credit Suisse and UBS. We're going to see shotgun marriages. Unfortunately, the Wall Street Journal, again, I'm not trying to foment panics. The Wall Street Journal on Friday last week said 186 banks in the U.S., regional banks, are in trouble. So if that's true, which I think it is, it's going to become increasingly difficult for them to stand alone, and there'll be suitors and shotgun marriages is my analysis, my prediction. And, so the question I've been asked is, well, is this intentional? Well, I don't know, but it's going to end up in the same place. If you wanted to introduce a central bank digital currency, wouldn't it be better to only have 6 banks in the U.S., all systemically important, basically run by the government? So it may not be a plan, but that's going to be what happens in my analysis. And if it is a plan, well, it's quite an evil plan. But again, I'm not in the room, but I see this unfolding.
Okay, let's unpack that a little bit before we start to break down the idea of a central bank digital currency, which for our viewers, as we've discussed on the show before, is a form of fiat currency issued by central banks, which is potentially programmable to work or not work in certain transactions and situations, and which also allows authority to monitor every single transaction made. But before we break into that dystopian endgame, which you say may or may not be by design, we said 186 banks are at risk of collapse.
Well, I wouldn't say collapse, but the Wall Street Journal pointed out 186 banks that may have problems. That doesn't mean they'll all collapse. But this number is from the Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
I don't want to be accused of fomenting fear and loathing, but that is reported by the Wall Street Journal, which indicates to me it's a serious problem.
So you're seeing essentially a consolidation of the banking sector, and I believe you've said that you anticipate 6 banks withstanding this crisis.
Yeah, the six U.S. systemically important banks, and I think it's Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citibank, J.P. Morgan, maybe Goldman Sachs. I don't know. I don't have the exact name. I know there's the four big ones, JP Morgan being the biggest. That's what that seems likely. To be honest, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that does not happen. Will there be some regional banks left? Sure. I live in Hawaii. Bank of Hawaii does not participate in the capital markets. They loan to the state residents in the state of Hawaii. It's a very conservative state bank. People have been asking me if I moved my money out of the bank. I have not, because I'm not worried about the Bank of Hawaii. So there'll be some regional banks left, but the bigger ones are going to, I think, disappear. They're in trouble.
And why is this so problematic to economic freedom, to have this consolidation of the banking sector?
Well, so local banking is obviously better because you have a lot of bankers give credit based on personal relationships. And if you consolidate to 6 national banks, it becomes very formulaic. And those who are the buddies of the people at the top get the loans, and everybody else kind of starves. It's not intended that way, but that's how it works. And so local banking is the lifeblood it used to be the lifeblood of the U.S. economy, and it's at risk of going away. And it's going to be harder to get capital if you're a small business. If you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have to go begging to those who have all the capital. It's a consolidation of capital. It's too much money in too few hands. That's monopolistic. At least in the old days, you could get a loan if you had a good business plan and were an upstanding citizen and your local banker got to know you, they'd give you a loan. That's going to go the way of the dodo bird, and that'll have that's not good for freedom. That's not good for people wanting to take charge of their own lives. I've worked for giant corporations before, and I'd rather work for myself.
And you're saying the end game here then is going to be 5 or 6 major banks, which are then subject to more government control and oversight, effectively nationalizing to some degree the banking sector, which you say paves the way for the central bank digital currency to be implemented. So elaborate on that.
So I've looked into the central bank digital currency, and I've watched some of their members speak about it. The Bank of International Settlements, forget his name, made a speech about a year and a half ago where he basically said it's basically, in his own words, it's a way to control how the money's used, essentially. So what does that mean? Well, right now, a $100 bill in your pocket, no one can tell you what to do with it. But if it's in the central bank and you happen to be a dissident talking about an issue that the state doesn't want you talking about, you can be targeted and have your ability to transact stopped. There's also a myriad of social controls that could roll out. Let's say the state wanted to start worrying about cow methane farts and wanted to restrict the amount of meat that you're allowed to eat. They can impose quotas, and if they get what they want, your credit, everything will be linked. You'll go to the cash register, ring up your meat, and the woman behind the cash register or man would say, "I'm sorry, I can't transact this for you." It's total end-to-end control. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's a very Orwellian scenario, but as you say, when the government is able to monitor your spending and program a currency to work or not work to enact certain transactions, or perhaps put a premium on if it's like, hey, you've flown 20 times this month, for argument's sake, you've exceeded your carbon footprint with that regard, this doesn't work. And to buy another plane ticket, or it does, but with a premium attached to that. But what is the timeline that you're anticipating for these banks to collapse? Because you said a controlled implosion. So for these banks to collapse, for there to be a consolidation, and then for CBDCs to be rolled out, essentially, roughly over what time period?
If they're going to control it, they need 12 to 24 months.
That's it?
Yeah.
24 months before we're down to 6 banks?
If it's controlled properly.
That's the controlled version. Okay.
Yeah. If it's fast, then chaos is unleashed, and I don't want to talk about that. But look, there's already executive orders been written by Biden about the CBDC. There's already white papers from the Fed. Things are rolling faster than I would have thought. And look, if I was a central banker and I wanted to introduce a central bank digital currency, I would do it at the bottom of a crisis when everyone's begging for relief and everyone's in fear, and then offer the solution. That's what I would do. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do, but if I wanted to get everybody on board, I would do it at the bottom when there's maximum amount of fear and people want to look to an authority to save them. That's classically how these things are done. That's how these things are done.
Is the implication then that this is by design?
There you have it. Okay, it's of his opinion and it's of my opinion, and it's probably of a large portion of people that are paying attention slightly. That this is all a big play globally to get everybody into the digital currency. Now China, Russia, Brexit, all the Brexit people, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, all these places, right? They do not want to be in on it. Okay, so that's why they're forming their own system, and that's why everyone's mad. Okay, because they're not conforming. Putin is not joining the United Nations. Okay, that is what upsets them. All right, they want everyone in the United Nations. The United Nations is the tool to usher in the global governance. They're going to use the United Nations, the WHO, the WEF as tools to bring in one world governance. Okay, now if you're in Europe or you're in somewhere else, Australia, and if y'all are wanting to go down with that, you can go down with that. But we are in America. Okay, and America, hopefully, America is not down for this stuff. We're just not down for this stuff. Right? They can turn your money off. If we stay sleepy and we let them usher in the CBDC, CBCD, right? Whatever it is, they're going to have total control over your life. Please look at China right now. China is the model. We've been telling you guys like me have been telling you guys this for 3 years now. China is the model. They want you to walk into the store. You can't even get into the store without facial recognition or without a palm or without, that kind of biometric entry. And then your money is all digital. They're going to control where you spend it, how much you can spend. If something's not right, they'll just say, no one can buy that right now. It's just a total form of control. It is totally, digital currency is totally un-American. If you have $100 in your pocket right now, you can go around and spend that dollar anywhere you want. No one can tell you what to do. If you have a digital currency, man, I cannot even begin to think of the controls that'll put you under. And the black market that is going to come up out of this is going to be off the chain. I don't know what else. I'm just trying to warn you guys. I'm trying to keep you hip on the stuff. I'm not a banker, but I'm not the smartest guy. That's why sometimes I think, man, if I can see this, if I have this figured out, why doesn't more people see it? Do they not want to see it? I don't know. But that's where we're heading. That's where we're heading. They're trying to get rid of all the banks. I think that the SBV bank collapse was all BS. Okay, I think that it's like basically like America. They were just throwing money around like crazy with no assets to manage the portfolio. And then what they did do is they put all their money in on the treasuries. If you guys understand how this works, the banks buy treasury bonds and other bonds, government stuff, and they bought them for 17 years. We've had 0% interest, right? And so the banks are leveraging their assets on these bonds with 0% interest for 10-year maturities or 20-year maturities. And then the Fed starts raising interest rates because they know what they're doing. There was no reason to raise interest rates. The only reason why we have inflation is because we're wheelbarrowing and diesel trucking money over and giving it to everybody. You know what I mean? It's just devalue. When you just shove planefuls of cash in people's face, it makes everyone else think, man, they must have so much of that paper they could just print it, and it just devalues the dollar. And it happened. Everyone said it was going to happen, and then it happened. And then no one's saying nothing about it. They're not saying that's what happened. They're just trying to hide it from you. Create the crisis, usher in the puppets that are supposed to have the answers, and let the puppets tell you what's up. Fauci was a puppet. Fauci lied. Fauci said take the mask off, put the mask on, take the mask off. Natural immunity is the best. No, get the jab. No, get 2 jabs. No, get 5 jabs. I mean, come on, you guys. Where are these are crimes against humanity. And we're doing nothing about it. We're all bickering with each other and, you know, just watching this stuff happen. And one day we're going to have to pay the piper here. That's the day you should worry about. That'll be the day that gets pretty rough for everybody. So all I can do is try to bring you the information, right? The best thing to do right now is pay cash. Use cash as much as you can, okay? Do not, you know, if you want to buy a homestead, like right now is the time. I don't know if you can with the interest rates are creeping up, right? Property values are up. We've been putting videos here for years trying to implore y'all to get out there and do your thing. And now everything, you know, with 4 or 5 central banks, you know, 4 or 5 banks servicing America, right? Can you imagine what it's going to be like to get a loan? Some of you young folks that are maybe watching our channel, you've never lived through the stuff us older folks did. And we didn't even live through the Depression, right? So we don't even have that hardcore information. We just have the information of 22% interest rates, right? Like go try to buy a house when it's 15% or 20% interest rates, okay? You guys don't know nothing about that, or a credit card, right? Some of you guys have got credit cards probably with 5-6% or something, 10%, 8%. Credit cards are a sucker's bet anyway, but theirs are going to be 25%, 30%. All money is going up to borrow, right? So if you haven't got your ducks in a row, meaning if you don't have your homestead now, or if you're thinking about it and you've been waiting and waiting, it might not be a good time. It might be time to wait. Now, if you've been saving your cash and you've been waiting and trying to wait for the best time, you're just about to find it. So the people that have been saving and are prepared, and especially these big hedge fund guys and all this stuff, they're going to gobble up everything. That's why you're going to own nothing and be happy. This is how they're going to do it. It's constant pressure. Constant pressure. This is the largest transfer of wealth in human history. I want you to think about that. I said a lot of stuff in this video. Hopefully you rewind it, listen to the information again, all right? It's very important stuff going on right now. I don't know how this ends. I don't know how we get through it. I don't know what tomorrow looks like. And that's another problem with a country, is when you have all this uncertainty. It causes a lot of problems. All right, I got some chores to do around the inside of the house today. We'll see you guys on the next video. Let me know down in the comment section if you've heard of it, if you even thought this in your gut, or if you heard about this. Also, let me know about the 20s. Did you know that the 1920s stock market crash was caused by people who were financing stocks? Just constantly this cycle of buying stocks with loans. You can go look this stuff up. It's hard to find, but you can find it. Man, we have been bamboozled. If you want to watch the video